Thoughts on the class as a whole?
Yeah, the class as a whole. I mean, really excited about this group. It's funny to be talking about it right now because there's been so much mental energy has been spent. Transfer portal, current roster, and so it's just even you asking the question, it feels very different, headspace to answer it in than it would have been even a year ago. But really excited about this group. I think we really strengthened in the secondary. I think we got a quarterback that we believe is everything that this program is looking for and this offense needs. I think we have some real leaders in this class. It's obviously a smaller group, but man, I think we're going to feel the force of this group in the locker room and on the field. Truthfully, I think there's guys that are going to have a chance to help us.
You speak to leadership. Did your definition or maybe vision of leadership change at all with what Diego did this year?
I think Diego's been very instructive around what a leader and a presence can do to a roster, especially at that position.
Yeah.
I don't think, and so yes, for sure, I'd say Diego has left an imprint in terms of the way we view leadership, and I think specifically at the quarterback position. I think it's going to be hard for me to ever compromise on that trait at that position.
Yeah.
And just seeing the way Diego has changed this roster and this team, and so I think that's a really valid point.
How soon can Carson Lawrence play for you guys?
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, I know that's a cop-out answer, I know, but
okay.
I think he's physically a really advanced kid. He can, he's going to be physically more advanced than most freshmen, and he's coming in early, and he's got some position flex. He could play the whip, he could play the star, and so I think it's just you just never really know until they're thrown in the fire. But we're going to have an opportunity to do that, which is exciting. And our defense can be demanding, particularly on those back end guys from just the mental side of things, and so. We'll all learn how quickly he can adjust, but I know he's coming in with the mindset if he wants to, he's not planning on waiting, taking his time. I mean, he wants to come in and make an impact.
Knowing you can't know till they get here and seeing what it looks like playing guys that can stop them. But Gabe Fields did some pretty big things in high school.
Yeah.
And I know you have a lot of internal metrics and things like that, your measurables. Are the measurables there that maybe there's a breakaway back in there that you maybe didn't see here this year?
I think what Gabe is a really good fit for this system. I think Coach G was really he had a chance to eval him early on prior to him even being here, and had a really good sense of what his skill set was and how it fit here. And so I think his size, his production, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. We've seen how that, how AJ and Seti have both impacted in that role. And so I think that's really the thing that jumps out about Gabe is just his fit in the offense, the way his skill sets translate, and he's going to be an SEC back from a size and strength standpoint. So I think that's this offensive staff has really clear ideas around how the roles that guys have in this system, and that's really consistent there with Gabe, and I think that's one of the things that's encouraging about his arrival.
To that, Clark mentioned about, and I'm putting words in his mouth, maybe the learning curve, and you are an entirely different offensive staff than he had a year ago. How much more benefit does that give you starting with next year, just now knowing that, okay, what these guys look for is different than what our coaches look for because the system is different? How much bigger advantage you have day one of fall camp next year than you had this year just because of the experience all there?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be huge. I think second year in the system is going to make a big difference, and I think also there's been learning and adjustment to for sort of our staff to calibrate as far as what it is that we're trying to add to this offense and how the pieces fit. And I think there's been over the course of the last kind of calendar year, there has been, I think, there's been trust built between recruiting staff, scouting staff, coaching staff, just experience, time together. I think that's really going to serve us well to kind of going into the next cycle, having gone through this first year, because it was really different. The way we did things, it became very different. And so all that's going to really, I think, strengthen us through this next cycle, certainly in the spring on the football side, but also just on the talent acquisition side as well.
George Okorie seems like your kind of guy from a measurable standpoint, and I know you got all those in camp. Like, what do you make of him? And he is 20 years old, and he's like training as his full-time job, basically. So, like, could he, is he not the typical international recruit in that, like, maybe he's a little more ready to go? I don't know. How do you
I mean, he's the ultimate wild card because he's advanced physically. He is, I think, he is a freak. Athletically, he's not tall, but he's really long, really big hands, elite wingspan, and physically very gifted. Obviously, the testing numbers are off the charts. I mean, this is a kid he's got a chance to be a monster, but and he has really natural pass rushing instincts, movements, and so we're obviously really hopeful that all translates. But he is a wild card. He has very little football experience in terms of actual in-game experience, and so that's not a small thing, And so I don't think, I'm not expecting instant impact, but I think Nick Rinaldi is a great example of a guy that came to us really inexperienced football wise, and he's one of our most natural pass rushers, and so I think in some ways that would be a comparison, and you're not going to see George playing sort of off the ball on the second level like Nick is, but I think just from a really athletic kid with really natural physical gifts and instincts, I think you could see personnel groupings, packages where I wouldn't surprise me at all to see him on the field next year, rushing the passer and really providing some shortening those downs.
What's the vision for Josiah Broxton? Especially like he's very small, but also like I don't see a lot of linebackers who return kickoffs for touchdowns even in high school. Yeah, I
think Josiah and Austin complement each other really well. Josiah is a little on the smaller end, but has the measurables to where we feel like he's got the ability to compensate. He's got big hands, long arms. He's a thicker kid. He's thick through the lower half. He's going to be able to hold up, and I think that's a player that really has great instincts of the football. Can accelerate at a really high level, can play downhill, is just a really good athlete, and so he'll be right out of the gate one of the better athletes in that linebacker room, and that's a room that's got really good athletes already, and so. Certainly hopeful and excited about seeing what he can do.
You guys made no secret you're going more portal heavy, particularly at some positions. Felt like from the outside you hit that really well with chemistry. Anytime you bring money and transfers and all those things into the situation, it's got a chance to be combustible. Felt like it worked the opposite way for you, that your chemistry is actually better bringing in guys from the outside. Is that something you guys feel like you've got some things, principles you can build on that you learn, maybe state secrets, or is there an element of, hey, we just kind of got a little lucky? Because you never know till you've got a guy in your building for good.
I think it's an art, not a science, and and I don't know that there's any way to predict the way the ecosystem is going to adapt or react to kind of what new elements you add to it. And so we certainly learned a lot from this last cycle. I think there's some things we can pull forward through it. I think truthfully though, I think the biggest lesson that we learned is we don't have to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know, we work really hard on culture and chemistry and have devoted energy to that, and Clark has, and that's something he does really well. But ultimately, what's going to build chemistry in a football program is confidence, and belief, and competition. And I think when you bring in a bunch of players that add confidence, add belief, add competition, then I think the chemistry begins to work itself out, because guys, they're ultimately, these guys are all here to win.
Yeah.
And these guys are all here because they want to experience success. And so what I've learned at least is not to be afraid of sort of rocking the boat, but really actually lean into it. And the guys you want here that are here to win at a high level actually want that. They want you to go bring in the best players you can, and if that pushes out some players that aren't quite up to par, that's not something that to this point guys have held against us. It's actually something that they've been sort of seeking and yearning for.
Again, because it's a little unpredictable, you probably think you know what you're getting when somebody comes to campus, but you don't always do. Can you, for lack of a better way to say it, can you sort of chemistry proof your roster a little bit by messaging in the recruiting? In other words, like, hey, if you're looking for this, don't come here because you're not going to get it. That kind of approach.
That's absolutely the goal, and that's been that's what we've tried to do since we've gotten here out of the gate. And I think that's, as best you can, you try to use messaging as a way to select, as a way to select out. You know, I mean, hey, if you're coming here for Broadway, if you're coming here for academics, even. You know, this is not the place. Come here if you want to play elite level football, and you're willing to do what it takes to. And that's not to say that academics aren't an element of our sell. I say that just to say this needs to be a football decision, and so as we continue to lean into that, I think it's important to continue to stay disciplined on messaging, and to be totally honest with you. There's been even one other sort of instructive element from this last cycle, and I don't want to say names, but there's been guys that have been really financially motivated.
Yeah.
And even a financially motivated person, you may think from the outside looking in, that seems like a bad fit culturally.
Yeah.
No, that actually can be a really positive thing. Like a guy that comes in who's financially motivated, like. Some of those guys have been our best locker room guys. And it's just about, hey, there's different motivators for different people. And so it's not to sort of judge them for that, but it is important to kind of have at least awareness of, like, what are you bringing in? And are they at least going to be someone that's going to be team focused? Can their goals be driven through the team and strengthening our team? And if that's, and then I think it could look a lot of different ways to get to that.
The part that you said about don't just come here for the academics and some of those other things, look, that's been part of the sell for as long as you and I have followed this program.
Yeah.
The way you phrase it would probably be problematic for some other chancellor.
Try to clarify for that.
You know
purpose.
What I'm getting at, but
yeah.
That does seem to speak to a little bit of a mind shift administratively that goes over your heads. Is that how would you put it?
Well, I mean, I think the mindset administratively that I've felt since I've been here, and really particularly over the last, this really last year and a half, where we've been able to really kind of make some progress. And I mean, I think that what I've felt is an administration that wants to win and believes that this university can be elite and championship level in every area, and this is a championship level university academically and all those sort of reputational areas. And so I think the circumstances present today in college football allow us to grab a piece of the pie in a way we never have before.
Yeah.
I think there's just access to it in a way there's never been before, and I'm really proud and excited that it feels like we have the support from our administration to go and attack that. And so we're going to try to, we're going to try to deliver on that.
Is it fair to say that maybe, especially with some winning and some things, have you gained some leeway with admissions or some things that might have been obstacles 5 or 10 years ago, or is that overstating it?
I don't want to comment specifically on admissions or but I think I'll say that we felt partnership there really from the jump, and honestly, I think that now and as there's been evolutions there, that's come from us, that partnership and our communication and their communication back, and so we're trying to be really good partners for them, and they've done a good job being partners with us, and I think across the board, I forget the first part of the question beyond academics admissions, but that ultimately we're all learning as we go, and we're all trying to adapt to the new climate, and I think it's we felt this responsiveness necessary.
It feels like there was an us versus them. Going back a few, us being athletics, them versus administrative, that maybe just listening to you talk, the wall feels to have fallen.
Yeah, I can't speak to what that was before I got here. I can just tell you, I think it's Candace does an amazing job of kind of building those bridges. I think Clark is really adept at being able to at understanding what partnership looks like, and we're, again, I think, and Chancellor Diermeyer ultimately sets the tone for everything, and we've felt his support from us really every step of the way since we've been here.
Yeah.
How do you think you guys are set up now, like for this offseason with NIL, and what has the process been like of determining how to allocate all that rev share money as well?
Well, that is a complex question and a trick. I'd say way easier to answer it on the back end of it and then on the front end of it, because it is a little bit of something that has been, and I think for everybody, and this is not unique to Vanderbilt or unique to me. I think for everyone in college football and in roles that are similar to mine, it's almost like you're what's the phrase? Like you're building the boat as you're sailing off. Like this thing is very much like a work in progress, and we're all trying to kind of create the process and the structure, while it's in motion. And so it'll be an interesting spring in that sense, and just trying to continue to adapt to this new era. But we're, obviously that's getting a lot of our attention right now.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.